It starts like any drive. Familiar road, familiar view. In a land that defies ordinary, so does the drive.
Discover a new kind of space with the all-new Škoda Kodiaq.
Škoda.
Welcome to Tarmac Life. We're here for the fun toys, cars, SUVs, utes, flights, hotels, because the journey matters too, and even the odd motorbike when we feel like living dangerously. Epic drives and unforgettable experiences, all served up with plenty of banter and zero boring nonsense.
On tonight's show, we review the affordable yet appable Chery Tiggo 4. Dave's gone wild with the new Subaru Forester. And if driving's a pain in the neck, well, Harry's got you covered on Tarmac Torque. And lastly, things get racy as we review the Lexus LBX Morizo RR.
Kia ora and thanks for joining us. Tonight's show is going to be a blinder. But first up, in recent news, car maker or Euro car maker Stellantis have literally pulled the plug on the R&D for hydrogen. They're saying it's basically too niche.
More specifically, they're thinking that their efforts could be better spent elsewhere because there is a lot of cost associated with the R&D and also with the creation of the infrastructure.
Yeah, it's a good topic to discuss, and I think we should talk about it later, and also you guys can join us online about it. On the other end of the cost spectrum, Chery have just launched their Tiggo 4, which is very fuel efficient and also very cost effective to buy, and these guys have taken it for a spin.
Chery have actually already popped theirs before with a previous New Zealand entry back in 2011 where they stayed here until about 2014 before departing, and now they're back again for a second go with this, the Tiggo 4. A couple of key things: they obviously have to work on reintroducing the brand to this New Zealand market, and that starts off with this big grille here, and you can see the diamond shapes going through it, as well as smaller shinier diamonds as such in between. This is full of fruit, so things like LED headlights. You've got these daytime running lights as well, of course. And then note the color. So it is actually in red, which coincidentally is the only free color. This is the base spec model, so it comes in at $24,990, and you can tell that thanks to the 17-inch wheels, which are wrapped in Shaoyang Sues. And as you keep walking around, again, we talk about that fruit. It has things like keyless entry and exit. You have a little bit of sort of chrome and polished surfaces both at the bottom and the top. This isn't actually a window, it's piano black plastic panel, more chrome there, and then that sort of continues into the back of the car there. One of the key concerns obviously is boot space for your road trips and things, and this does have a decent bit of that. So you've got about 340 liters of boot space in there. Nice low lip as well. Now again, under the bonnet, Chery have gone with this idea of economy, and the engine is certainly targeted in that direction. It's got a 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. You get 108 kilowatts of power, about 210 Newton meters of torque, and Chery claim an efficiency of about 7.4 liters per 100 kilometers. So it's not too bad where that is concerned either.
Not too long ago, if you went for a car that was in this price bracket, it meant that you were leaving a lot of the stuff out of the equation, but not here. Chery have really focused on the things that give you an impression of a car that feels a little bit more premium, so you do get some parts of the dashboard that feels really a sort of soft touch with the stitching going from one side to the other and all of that. The seats in this entry level that we have here, which is the Urban, are in this cloth and has a really funky design to it. And then for you to store your nicks and bobs around the car, here you get an armrest that is actually surprisingly deep for the shape of the car, that you can get a lot of stuff stored in. 2 cup holders that are really small. They couldn't even fit 2 of our coffee cups this morning. And then this slot here for you to put your phone that gets in the way of the gear selector. Not the best choice. Thankfully, you can still store plenty of things underneath this other part of the armrest here, which just shows how smart they were with the packaging. So it's 2025, so of course we have to do with 2 screens in front of the driver in here. But just before we go to those, let me actually cover the third sort of screen that we have down here. And it is for your climate control. And it is this sort of digital panel that is illuminated from behind that gets you very quick and easy access to the majority of the climate settings that you will use on a daily. Back to the screens that we have up here, and it is really simple in a way, in the sense that it mimics CarPlay to a certain degree, but no, this is not CarPlay. This is the native selection of apps that Chery have put here in the car. So you can see that you can go into specific things about the vehicle settings, and then there is plenty to customize in here. The driver assistances, there is just so much for you to customize about how you want the 17 ADAS systems that Chery have put here in this car to work with you. But then in terms of the controls themselves, here on the left side, it's everything to do with those ADAS systems. Here on the right spoke, you then get to interact with your media. Really handy, really easy to interact with.
Someone has been driving something that is more towards the end of its life, and then they want to treat themselves with something new while still in the budget, it'll feel like you are taking a massive leap in terms of comfort, technology, niceties, and even, dare I say, luxury features, because this car is packing a lot of stuff for the money that it is charging.
Normally you think about, okay, an affordable car must be compromising, and one of the first places it'll compromise in is safety, right? But this Tiggo 4 proves that that's not the case. We're not saying that it doesn't have compromises, because it does. They've been really selective with where those compromises have come from. So yes, you know, the plastics down low are quite cheap and scratchy, you know, some of the edges are a bit rough and stuff like that, but where it counts, the main touch points and areas where you do interact with the car, they have spent the money in those places.
Yes, it might not be super engaging to drive, it's not fast, sometimes the systems will get in your way for no apparent reason, but it gets the fundamentals covered.
We had this discussion earlier that not all CVT transmissions are created equal. It's actually not too bad at all when you're just on the move.
Yeah, it is able to simulate gears for you. It works well with the adaptive cruise control, which is also another nicety that the car is able to offer you. So again, it gets most things covered, but there is always that a little bit of that rough edge that needs a little bit more finessing.
And I think you expect a car in this price range to be small, firstly, right? But this is not small. Yes, its dimensions are compact, but over here we have a good amount of space. We were quite impressed actually with the back seat as well, I have to say. Harry, obviously the tallest of us 3, was in the back there. He had a good amount of knee room, headroom as well. It was pretty impressive. It's less than 25,000 for a brand new compact SUV with a 5-star safety rating. That's impressive.
Wow, that is so much car with so much equipment and for such a little price. It's a good package.
It was, you know, seriously impressive, and especially at home as well in these sort of city and urban environments, as we know many SUVs can be these days. But for an SUV that's really at home, well, in the wilderness, Dave's about to go and take the new Subaru Forester for a drive after the break.
Introducing the all-new Subaru Forester with next-generation strong hybrid and over 1,000 kilometre range. The all-new Subaru Forester. Get ready to own the road and conquer the wild. Have it all-wheel drive with Subaru.
Today we're in the South Island, actually at Terrace Downs Resort, to check out the 6th generation Subaru Forester. It's smarter, safer, stronger than ever before, and actually more capable. Alright, so first up, a history lesson. The Subaru Corporation, as we know it, was first introduced or founded back in 1953. A year later, 1954, they developed their first car, which was the 1500, and actually they only made 20 of those, but that set the scene. In 1966, great year for us English, the Subaru Corporation then started to introduce the Boxer engine. In 1992, Subaru actually made their way to New Zealand and really set the scene as an adventurous brand here that really is a driver's car as well. And then in 1997, they actually introduced the symmetrical all-wheel drive as a standard across virtually all their cars, apart from the BRZ and things like that, but let's not worry about that. And in 1997, that same year, the Forester, actually Edition 1 or Generation 1, was launched. 30 years and 5 generations more, we actually get the 6th generation as we have here. So it is stronger, safer, smarter, and actually more secure and capable than it's ever been. So let's take a closer look. Now, as you can see, we've already put it through its paces, but as far as styling goes, it is much more sort of confident, so boxier, but certainly more capable looking, and yet still retaining a lot of its characteristics that has made it so popular. It's also got plenty of protection, so everything from the front bumper over the sort of squarish wheel arches and even down by the sills. It comes with class-leading 220 millimeters of ground clearance, and as you look at the front and the rear, there's plenty of angles for approach, departure and breakover to make sure that you can take it on an adventure off-road. Now, when it comes to powertrains, you've got two options. So you've got a 2.5 litre Boxster engine, which is 137 kilowatts of power and 247 newton meters of torque, or there's an e-Boxer, which gives you the same 2.5 litre Boxster engine and also two motors. So you've got one that helps with the starter and one that goes towards that symmetrical all-wheel drive. What that gives you combined is 145 kilowatts of power and 276 newton meters of torque. When it comes to fuel efficiency, 6.2 litres per 100 kilometres, and as far as emissions go, 140 grams per kilometre. Now, when it comes to range, what Subaru are doing are bringing in 6 models. So you've got 3 with the petrol variant and 3 as an e-Boxer, so a hybrid, a strong hybrid offering. So you've got the base-ish model, you've got a sport, and then you've also got the touring, so actually has all the fruit. With adventure on its mind, the new Forester's cabin is both modern and spacious. There's even extra room between the 2 front seats, making interaction with the rear easier. The dashboard is dominated by an 11.6-inch high-def touchscreen, and there's also a 12.3-inch digital cluster. There's Harman Kardon sound system, there's QI charging, and wireless and Apple Android connection. And then there's the way it drives. The NZ launch took us on a multi-surface route from downtown Christchurch to Heron Station, Terrace Downs, and then back to the airport. Essentially a 500 kilometre chance to get better acquainted with the new Forester. Aside from the fresh design, my first wow moment with the Forester is the spacious interior. It really adds to that sense of freedom. Over the 2-day event, we moved through most of the trim range and both the powertrains, with the best of both worlds being the hybrid touring. Heading out of Christchurch, the hybrid's 30-odd% increase in power was really evident. But so too was the silence in the cab. Subaru have really concentrated on MVH. The switching between electric and ICE power delivery was seamless, and the improved steering gives sharper, more confident feedback, making the whole drive more enjoyable. On the matter of enjoyable, the energy flow screen was fun to watch, particularly for geeks like me, and the refined trim with leather and high gloss, glass roof and top-notch sound system really helped. Heading off-road, the 360-degree camera view really helps in tight spaces. And there's also a view of the terrain below, which was great for avoiding tyre slicing nasties. Historically, gravel and unsealed roads are a staple for the Subaru Forester, and if it's at all possible, with this new model, even more so. With 10% more rigidity, the more stoic chassis to which the seats are now bonded to offers less jarring, less head jiggling, and therefore more driving confidence. And for those that really want to put the Forester's off-road credentials to work, the approach and departure angles are still very, very good, and also ground clearance of 220 really adds to the off-road experience.
I've got to say, do you just show those films so you can show us all the exotic holidays you've been on?
Well, it's the South Island. It's not that exotic, but the wilderness out there is, I mean, breathtaking. And the Subaru Forester just handled it so well. The big one for me was the hybrid, though. It is the more powerful, and it does just conquer that terrain so well and efficiently too. It was a really good thing, and also, again, great to be away from you two.
And on tonight's Tarmac Torque, we are talking seating positions, because surveys have shown that most of us seat incorrectly when driving our cars. And this can not only lead to injury and discomfort, but also distractions that can put your driving at risk. But rather than talking about it, we figured that we would give you a demonstration. Let's talk sitting positions. And as you can see, I brought a prop here to show us how not to do it, and we will cover some tips and tricks from head to toe, so pay attention, because class is in session. First of all, the head. And considering that this is where your eyes are, it has to do with visibility. You want to get a very clear and wide view of everything that is ahead of you. So pretty much it means that you need to bring your seat almost as low as it will go. Yes, it is good that if you have it high up, you can have a clear view of the corners of the car, but cars are now doing so much for us in terms of the parking that you really want to focus on the vision side of things, ensuring that you can get a very good view of all the mirrors that are available to you, that your view is relaxed looking at the line of the horizon, and also that you don't have to keep moving your head all that much. Next, we are talking hands. And yes, we all know that person that drives way too close to the steering wheel or just uses that gangsta lean that we were seeing Matt do just now. But what you really want is to have just a little bit of angle in your elbow so that you can get a very relaxed driving position. Ideally, you would be aiming to this 9-3 driving position that we are taught, because not only do you get a very relaxed driving experience, but you can also do quick evasive maneuvers if you need to do so. The best way for you to find that position is by first putting your seatbelt and then resting your wrist on the top of the steering wheel in a way that your back is mostly upright. That will give you an indication of how much you have to telescope the steering wheel if that feature is available to you, and then you move the seat to accommodate for that distance. Which then leads us to talking about the back. And yes, you want as much as possible of your back to be supported by the seats, and manufacturers are now putting so much effort into making seats that are really good and really comfortable. So make sure that you use the most of it. Don't keep things in your back pockets or in other places that could keep you from using all the comfort that is available to you. And then last but not least, we have the legs. And here the top tip is for you to make sure that you get the access to the whole travel of the brake pedal. Make sure that you can come to a full stop using all of the brake in case you need to, but that you also get access to all the space that you have in there for the accelerator pedal or for you to rest your left leg if you're driving on automatic. So with all these tips and tricks, as you can see, you should be now in a way more relaxed and way more comfortable driving position and a more relaxed relaxed driver is a less distracted driver, and this should lead also to a safer driving experience. But should the unthinkable happen, these tips will also help you benefit from all the safety systems that are there in your car, because the crumple zones, the airbags, the seatbelt tensioner, all these things will keep you safer if you follow these guidelines.
Wow, you make me want to sit up straight now. It's such good information, and it is something we should all be using. Anyway, speaking of the hot seat, after the break, these guys are taking the LBX Morizo RR for a drive.
Okay, everyone, for homework tonight, we're going to dream about what the future looks like.
Dreams can come true. The all-new, fully electric Honda EN1 is here.
Toyota's chairman, and certainly when he was overlooking the Gazoo racing department, Akio Toyoda has always been a bit of a motor racer himself, and that's why we in the car industry really love him, because at a time when cars are going the way of efficiency, electrification and all of that, he still wants to push the performance car category. And that's exactly what he's done with this, the Morizo RR. And it's so special because it even carries his name. Morizo is his racing moniker that he raced under, and RR stands for Rookie Racing, which he sees himself as. How can you tell a Morizo RR apart from a regular LBX? One of those things is in this spindle grille. As you can see, it's gone all black now, much more menacing than before. That aside, that further gloss black effect stretches around to the side, contrasts beautifully with this color. So this is the cobalt option, which is a spectacular color and comes with an ebony black roof as well. These wheels are 19 inches and they are a polished black effect. This is 15 millimeters wider, and you can see that especially around the arches. And it's also 10 millimeters lower to further help that performance bend that this car brings to the LBX lineup. This uses that famous 3-cylinder engine from the GR Corolla and GR Yaris, and it is the 1.6 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder. In this particular car, it puts out 206 kilowatts, 390 newton meters of torque. That goes out through an 8-speed gearbox to both the front and rear axles, because this is 4-wheel drive, and it uses 2 torsion differentials on either axle to split the power. Thanks to that, 0 to 100 comes up in about 5.2 seconds, but don't expect it to be either efficient or good on the planet, because it is neither of those things. It does 215 grams per kilometer of CO2 emissions and 9.5 liters per 100 kilometers in terms of its fuel efficiency.
And the same thing applies to the interior of the Morizo RR, because it's not like Lexus was trying to make any eco kind of push for this. For starters, we get these amazing seats here. As in usual Lexus fashion, they are in beautiful leather. They are heated and they have plenty of adjustability. And then in other bits of the dashboard and other parts that you interact with, you get this lovely suede that adds a little bit more to the sportiness and of course to the comfort of the cabin. It is still a small cabin, because we must not forget that this is based on the Yaris, but Lexus has really taken it to the next level with all the materials that they have put in here. Of course, this being an all-wheel drive car, it's always going to be important for you, especially as you are on those more spirited drives, that you can see from the all-wheel drive menu how much power is being sent to each of the wheels, really making the most of all this amazing powertrain that Lexus has put in this car. And you can also play with it a little bit more by using this AWD mode button that you have right in the middle of the center console in here. If I press it, I then see in the cluster that it goes into AWD 50-50 mode, meaning that the torque is being split between both the front and the rear axle, really making the most of this rally-inspired 3-cylinder engine and all-wheel drive mode.
So as our resident Toyota and Lexus fanboy, obviously Harry had to be behind the wheel for this one. Just look at the smile on his face. That's not fake, that's all real, and you can tell straight away that this is a fun car.
It really is. I jumped at the opportunity of picking up this car and having it for a little while because, yes, not only do I like what the brand stands for, but I also like the philosophy of the guy that is at the helm. And he has been, for many, many occasions, the person that went ahead and did things that no one expected would happen. And this here is another example of that. This car almost didn't exist the same way that the RS GR almost didn't exist, right? So I'm really happy that Lexus really went out of their way to make something unexpected and actually do something so cool with that.
Just the driving pleasure that you get out of something like this, dropping the gears, accelerating away, listening to that 3-cylinder soundtrack and that turbo, the turbo noises, how about those?
Yeah, absolutely. You'll get like tuner car stutter coming from the turbo straight to the inside of the car, which is absolutely not what you get in any other Lexus. And I think that this is why I like this car so much, which means that it is time for sport mode and AWD mode. And then at this time, you will probably be able to tell how much the sound actually changes. As you flick it into sport, and then one step further, if you bring the car into manual mode, the character changes so much. The gearbox becomes so much eager to work with you, and then you also get all of this sound that accompanies the whole experience. It just completely changes the car.
It almost feels like it's a dual clutch unit or something like that. It's just too quick to be an automatic, but again, that's Lexus working their magic on the performance and trickery of this car. It's interesting because you can see this is the same company that developed something like the LFA. You can see the craziness and the, I think, meticulous focus on detail behind their luxury, their quietness, all of the focus on all of that. But occasionally when they let that side out, it comes up with something like this, which is impressive, seriously impressive.
Well, gentlemen, that looks brilliant. Apart from the fact, I just want to say I've driven that car on the racetrack.
Yeah, what a way to one-up us. But even on the streets, the car is such a thrill. And it was really cool to see GR and Lexus come together for what was one of the most exciting cars of the year. I mean, that sporty side is one that we don't really see much from Lexus, but every now and then when they bring that out, they create something pretty spectacular, I have to say.
Yeah, it was special. So there you have it. These guys have driven a reasonably priced family vehicle. I conquered the South Island in a very powerful Subaru Forester. Harry's taught us how to sit down in a car. And also, I've shown that I can drive and the LBX faster than you guys. Thanks for joining us and see you next week.
It's more at home in the wilderness.
No, stop. You didn't respond to my... You need to respond to that. I told you.
Whatever it was. Do I need to be mic'd up? No, right? I'm just a dummy.
The less we hear from you, the better.
Tarmac Torque.
And take the new Subaru Forester for a drive.
After the break.
That was so good.
We've driven a...
On tonight's week, no, on tonight's week.
I nailed it straight out.
That's it.
That's it.
Cut. Done.
We can live with it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's horrible.
Yeah.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
Doesn't have to be long, does it? That's what she said. We've driven I've driven...
Close.
On tonight's week.
The Ford Africa.
First try.
Discover a new kind of space with the all-new Skoda Kodiaq.
Skoda.
It starts like any drive. Familiar road, familiar view. In a land that defies ordinary, so does the drive.